Games, Brrraaains A Head-Banging Life here with another episode of The Nasties. We are visiting 1982 for Visiting Hours, a slasher horror, also titled The Fright. Which is an
awful name.
You reckon?
Yeah. Visiting Hours, the majority of it's set in a hospital. The main action starts with the main protagonist being in the hospital.
Yep.
Visiting Hours makes sense. The Fright could be anything horror-based.
Okay.
So when I heard the title, I was like, okay, we're going to be in a mental asylum or a hospital.
Okay, I'm not disputing that. I just wanted to get that out. It's directed by Jean-Claude Lord and stars Lee Grant, Michael Ironside, Linda Pearl, William Shatner, and Lenore Zan. It basically has feminist angles in this, with a killer targeting a woman who is a feminist, effectively, and empowerment and stuff like that. I don't think it does that brilliantly because when it comes down to it, the women in this movie still follow the same slasher formula of run, scream, die, run, scream, hide, until the end.
And some of the choices they make are just sort of shoehorned in. So, for example, when someone's offered when a young nurse is offered escort home, when clearly it's not being weak, it's being practical, refuses it. And it's like, oh, I can do this on my own. It's like, no one's saying you can't, but take the help. Like, no one's saying it's weakness, which I thought was a bit shit.
Yeah, that's fair enough. That's fair enough. But I do like the sort of overarching angle of the starting point, which is Deborah Bailey, who's the character Deborah, who's a feminist activist, who said, fighting for the rights on her talk show, it seems, for a woman who killed her husband in self-defense. Yeah. Self-defense. Yeah. Basically, she was a battered woman and obviously snapped and killed him. Now she's up for a murder charge, and Deborah on her talk show is arguing against that aspect, so to speak. Particularly, it's weird. They have the lawyer for the prosecution there as well, which is something you kind of like. You wouldn't do that. You wouldn't have a lawyer for prosecution on TV talking about the case.
Very inflammatory, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. And it's Lee Grant who plays Deborah, who I think's good in it, but I actually think she's outshone by Linda Pearl, who plays Sheila, who would meet later on. And we see that Deborah is being kind of watched from afar by some guy who uses a stress ball. Stress ball is a funny angle. It seems to be used a lot earlier on, but then it's later on just dropped and they're used once in a killing tool, and that's about it. As if like it's going to be an important thing, that might be how the killers found out who it is because of the stress ball. Yeah, I was like, oh, I've seen this guy with a stress ball around town. Yeah, that kind of thing. But it's not that at all. That's Michael Ironside, who plays Colt Holker. And especially he's a misogynist. Who's taking great umbrage to Deborah's, fighting for women's rights things. We see later on in the movie through flashbacks and stuff like that it kind of comes from his childhood. His father was a misogynist and used to regularly attack his mother and stuff like that. And he witnessed a lot of it. And in an incident where his mother threw boiling hot oil over his father's face, that was the last flashback we got. That seems to have been like where Colt sided with his father. And it seems like his dad was still brainwashing him because his dad was still alive. Yeah. And Colt went to go visit him. Very snazzy jumper vest. So yeah, it seems like his dad's kind of still feeding that misogyny as he goes to visit him. Yeah. So yeah, it does make sense as kind of like that kind of thing. Deborah's producer, which is William Shatner, who's fine in this. I wouldn't. It says starring. I question that. Yeah. Wouldn't say star, but it's William Shatner. He was a big name and stuff like that. And he's fine in it. He's kind. He's nice. He's one of the few men that just do an all right job, like in the sense of like how bad some of the men are later on, not in the violent, horrible way, but more how useless they are. Yeah. That aspect. And it makes sense that someone like that, his looks would be in TV. Yeah. Oh God. Yeah. Absolutely. So like there's some sort of like smooth cat. Cool cat involved in TV. Yeah, and he's supportive of Deborah. He is, but he makes the point of saying, look, we'll not be able to run it on TV and stuff like that because it's 1982. Yeah, and it's a fair point. If it was her own TV show and you're running the show, then yeah, but at that point she would be kind of bound to what the TV was going with. Yeah, she's not Oprah. It's not that. It's not like it's her show and she can do whatever the hell she wants. She's part of a news program and that side of things. And quickly on, we actually get to the slashing straight away as she at home is attacked by Colt. He breaks into her home, which is attacked immediately by him. Bit of a weird opening as well because he's shirtless and he's like put lots of her jewellery on and stuff like that. And I thought initially they were going for an angle of potentially a transsexual person struggling with what would have been very difficult in 1982 and so on. But it doesn't. It's nothing really, is it? I mean, was he trying to I'm saying if he was trying to kill her, or mock her maybe. Maybe, could be. I don't know. He has a. Let's talk about Michael Ironside now as well. He is very good in this. He has a look. He is an imposing figure. They shoot him in a very clever way where often the camera's quite low, pointing up to give him a height that, he isn't biggest of guys, but it gives him this imposing height. He's a little bit stockier here as well, and he doesn't say much. He's got a couple of lines later on, but for the most part, he's silent, but he also seems to be enjoying what he's doing.
Yeah, and he's borderline. He's not kind of made sort of like archetypal, like cartoon, like doesn't look to anyone. I think he says enough to kind of skid by on being like just a bit of a loner, really.
Yeah.
So he goes out and he kind of like socialises to a point,
Yeah.
He's got jobs. He can hold down jobs. So
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like he can do some stuff.
He's got a nifty supply of disguises, which include glasses.
Oh yeah, Superman glasses. His snazzy kind of pleather vest.
Oh God, that thing, the vest. That was a funny moment.
And he's not hideous, so he's not not cartoonishly freakish as a bad guy.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, like I was like, is he attractive? He's got a look.
Yeah, okay. But Deborah ends up surviving the attack when neighbours come to help and she's sent to the hospital. It's there she meets Sheila, which is Linda Pearl, who's a young woman, mother of 2 children, and who knows where the father is. Yeah. That kind of thing. She works hard, seemingly, at the hospital, and her and Deborah become friends. Sheila respects Deborah, basically, for her sort of pro-women stance. And when Colt's going to kill Deborah in the hospital, he actually overhears Sheila slagging him off, which is why he sort of turns his attention to him as well. We then get some murders, and this is where the film quickly begins to fall apart, I say, where he kills an elderly patient because Deborah was supposed to be in the room and she wasn't. He cuts the oxygen tube and kills the woman. It's a little bit more harrowing.
I thought that was quite nasty because they focus on the woman dying slowly because she suffocates.
Yeah.
And the idea of having to cut oxygen pipes is quite horrible. Whereas a stabbing's a stabbing, but that's quite planned because he cut it and then he saw her. Yeah. And there was no kind of, what the wrong person. It's like, it's a woman. Never mind. Yeah. Just get on with it.
Yeah, we thought that might be sort of the fact that focuses on her face might be one of the nasty cuts, but it's not. No. It's not at all. And he also then kills a nurse who gets killed, was friends with Sheila, and is effectively forgotten about for the rest of this movie, which is absolutely infuriating. This is what I'm talking about where it falls apart, because security isn't beefed up. People are still allowed to come and go as they please to this floor, and this nurse dying, which would be enough to call in so much trouble, seems to just be overlooked. It's not till later on when another attack happens, that things ramp up with security.
And it's after that the nurse gets... Oh, no, I was trying to think. So Deborah's been attacked. Yeah. And they've not caught the guy. Mm-hmm. The hospital just let a guy as a florist come in.
Yeah, he was delivering flowers and apparently that was it.
Rather than, leave him at the front desk, I'll send him to her room.
Yeah, one of the nurses will bring her there, yeah.
Yeah, which makes more sense. I take away, you wouldn't let people just walk into the rooms, leave it at the front desk. This is what the security... You're just like, just any old person. Oh yeah, what room is she in? GDPR, people.
Yeah. We then get a long sequence to kind of hammer the point of Colt's misogyny and violence towards women. He meets a young punk girl named Lisa, invites her back to his place, and they're gonna have sex. Like she's not that she's up for it. They're flirting and that kind of thing.
A bit more intrigued, I think, by him.
Yeah, potentially, but he gets violent and ends up beating her up, and it's implied he's going to rape her. We never see that, but later on we find out from Lisa that he didn't actually rape her because he struggled to get it up, basically.
He knocks her about because he comes in with a smashed up face.
Yeah, with a smashed up face. It's actually that's where she meets Sheila. Sheila occasionally works at a free clinic, that kind of thing, and she meets Lisa there. And initially Lisa won't tell her what to do. It's one of those, I don't want to get the police involved kind of thing. Yeah. But she does plan to get her back on Colt with her friends, which they do later on, which is nice to see. You probably deserves a fuckload more than what they actually do.
Oh yeah, they trash his place, don't they?
And they trash his place.
Write stuff all over the walls.
Yeah. With feces and things like that.
Yeah, and that's how that's how Lisa warns Deborah, isn't it? They find photos.
Yeah, that's further along because first Deborah discovers the deaths that have occurred. She's convinced the attacker is going to come to kill her again, but everyone kind of acts like, oh, you're just being paranoid, you're being silly, no one's going to come,
It would have made sense if she was if it was another situation and she was just spooked by something, and there was no kind of justification why she was spooked. But the fact she's in hospital being attacked,
and people have just died,
you would take that seriously. Okay, we're gonna have a police officer outside your door. Yeah, it's just
really, really bad.
And it's quite I find it quite offensive. Like is it kind of like leading into like, oh, women, you know, oh, poor.
No, that's overthinking it. No, it's just bad writing. It is bad writing, and it takes you out of the movie because you're like, well, that's just stupid. That is just stupid, particularly as Colt comes back.
Yeah, she was nearly killed.
Colt comes back, but he ends up running afoul of some security while in the tunnels, and he's unable to do what he wants to do. This is where Sheila meets Lisa.
Yep.
Lisa, as we already said, and her friends trash Colt's place, writing words on the wall, and they also find he's got a shrine inside like a cupboard to the women he's killed, pictures he's taken, because he loves taking pictures with a disposable camera. And he's also put Deborah and Sheila in there as well. Yeah. So Lisa now knows the identity of them and goes to Sheila and tell her and stuff like that. But before Sheila can then go and tell, because this point now security's been fully ramped up in the hospital, you have to sign in and out and stuff like that. Before she can go up to Deborah, she actually gets a phone call. She receives a phone call from the desk, and it's Colt, who's at her house with her kids, basically telling her to come to the house. So Deborah runs off. This is where you talked about the policemen and stuff like that.
Oh, yeah, offering an escort home, so, you know, like...
Well, she wants him to come with her, but he wants her to explain why.
Yeah.
And she's frantic.
Yeah, it's just a case of... There's help. There's help sometimes, and it's not taken, and other times you can't get the help. Like, yeah, it's just a bit frustrating. And, like, they show, like, about 50 police officers and security guards.
Well, they're all running around. They're all constantly running around.
What really would happen was the hospital would be closed down to any new patients, and they would go from there. But yeah, it's just a bit chaotic. It kind of takes you, like it takes you out the film because it's so unbelievable. It's a big hospital as well. Yeah, and
we should note as well that although Colt's been seen several times by people like Deborah and all that, it's constantly done like, oh, I didn't really get a good look at his face. And it's like, shut up. The guy's pretty distinctive looking. Yeah. Don't give me this crap, I didn't get a good look at his face. You'd be like, well, look, the guy, he had black hair, he was balding, his hairline was receding quite heavily. Like, you'd have that sort of shit, but it's constantly like, no. So he's able to kind of come and go as he pleases on that front. Obviously, Sheila goes back home. It's a very long sequence for not much payoff, to be fair. And she walks around the house hearing noises and stuff like that. Goes to the bedroom but finds the babysitter and her daughter asleep in bed. She goes downstairs. Seemingly Colt's not there. She goes to call Deborah to warn her about Colt, figuring Colt's now gone there. And he's hiding under a table. Why are you waiting this fucking long? I do not know. And he stabs her in the stomach. She falls to the floor. He puts the phone to her so Deborah can hear Sheila's pain. And then he starts to kick her foot while taking pictures. We'll come back to that at the end because that's one of the nasty segments, apparently. With Sheila apparently dying because he just leaves her. Why he didn't finish her off, I do not know. He just leaves her. Colt heads home. Obviously wants to take out Deborah, but how's he going to get into the hospital? And he comes up with what is a clever enough idea in that he decides to badly wound his arm with a broken beer bottle, which effectively gets him taken into the hospital in an ambulance. Don't mind that.
No, I don't mind that. Because at first you're like, why is he going to... because as soon as you do the glass, you're like, that's where he's going to go with it. Because you had to kind of do it pretty deep.
Yeah, it's pretty nasty.
Yeah, because otherwise you wouldn't get to hospital with a scratch.
No, you need to be like, oh shit, this guy's in trouble. Yeah, that kind of thing. Sheila was also taken to the hospital. She's found and then taken to the hospital, same hospital as well. Meanwhile, the police, now knowing, have been made aware via Lisa about who Colt is, of arrived at his apartment. So it's all coming to a head. He's either got to kill Deborah or he's going to fail, basically. It's one or the other. I thought it was weird that they brought along the producer of her TV show.
Yeah.
I thought that was weird, Gary.
He's not a trained... he's not
they let him in.
Yeah.
They let him in to look around.
Yeah, it's nothing to do with...
Like, it's nothing to do with you.
Yeah, it's just before, like, fingerprints were done for a major thing, because he's going to touch everything.
It was weird, but that's why they obviously find all the photos and stuff like that and then discover where Colt has gone. Sheila is taken in an emergency room, Colt's wheeled it in, but he manages to sneak away and, of course, goes to kill Deborah. There's a very, very long... It's all one very, very long chase sequence. We thought it was stupid that Sheila, who's waiting for x-rays in an emergency room, is left completely alone. Left completely alone.
Would not happen. Yeah. After everything she's been through, I think the hospital has kind of gone through. It's absurd.
It's absurd. Deborah sees her alone in the room and decides to lead Colt away from her by saying she's this way and stuff like that. And she ends up hiding and then stabbing Colt to death. And that's the end of the film. Now, the end, with the fact that she stabs him in a moment where she has to, I thought was quite nice parallels to the start of the film, where she's defending a woman who killed a man in self-defense. It's the same thing.
Yeah.
You know?
You get to the end of your like. Yeah.
When is violence acceptable?
Yeah. And I thought that was a really good way of kind of like I said, mirroring the beginning part of it. Yeah, it was just
everything in between is the problem, isn't it?
Yeah, it's just a slow. I wish it kept in the hospital, like cut the home parts, kept it in the hospital.
True.
It would have been good. Maybe like because it's called visiting hours. I'd like to just kept it. There's ways of kind of keeping it in the hospital and things like that. What about like a remote hospital or something like that? So where
this hospital is definitely in a city.
Yeah, in a city. It's huge. It feels like it's kind of, because obviously they pay for stuff in America, it feels like it's a bit more private because it looks like hotel suites almost.
Definitely.
But yeah, I think I'd liked it more actually kept in the hospital, more remote. So when the power goes down, something like in winter, the power goes down, they're stuck. Make it more of a ominous hospital rather than just anyone can walk in and out the swing doors. Yeah. So yeah, it lost its oomph.
It is very, very clumsy, and with what we talked about through it, the mistakes it makes and stuff like that, and it's more as well, like, for example, the nurses that work on that floor, it seems to be a skeleton crew most of the time, which is questionable as well, but someone will buzz from their bed, the button, the emergency button, I need help button, wherever it is, and the nurses will be like, okay, I'll go in a minute. Yeah. And then stroll, and it's like, really? Yeah. Like, really? I'm not saying you have to run, but a bit of urgency. And it's kind of like that happens when a woman's choking to death. Yeah. And stuff like that.
I'll get my own time. Yeah.
We have this random character thrown in that looks like Groucho Marx, who's in a wheelchair and stuff like that. And he's only there later on for Colt to use a stress ball to choke that guy to death. But then he survives anyway. Yeah. And it's so random.
They use him as well to tell Deborah about, that lady. The nurse. That lady got killed. I was in room whatever. And then, that was the room that so got killed in. She was like, that's my room. So that's why she realised the whole switcheroo of the rooms where Colt killed someone.
It's a character plot device, and he's a plot device to move things along. Yeah, literally, wheel you in, say a few lines, and wheel you back out.
It was disappointing because when I heard the words visiting hours and like Michael Ironside, I was like, oh, cool, it'll be quite good. It just felt like it missed the mark and how kind of horrible you could have made it.
Thing is, it's not a terrible movie though. That's the thing. It's not a bad movie. It's just very slow, very clumsy, boring at times. The acting is solid, really solid by all of the main cast, but the characters aren't great. Yeah. There's that bigger problem. The only one you feel like you really get behind is Sheila, Linda Pearl's character. Yeah. But the detail is light. I would have liked sort of maybe a scene explaining why she's not got a husband or boyfriend in her life that's looking after the kids. Like, what happened there? Yeah. To add more of that connection. Maybe they were trying to downplay the men are all arseholes aspect, but I say it's 1982. Go for it. Yeah. Go for it. Go hardcore with it.
And I feel like it could have been. They could have made Deborah's character stronger at the beginning. But it's even called lip service to Deborah is done later on through the film. You have to kind of pile it on afterwards. So when that Sheila's like, "Oh, I love your work," it's like you could have shown maybe Deborah in her changing rooms after the initial trying to rail on this lawyer and like trying to cut him down. Go back to her dressing room where she's got, I don't know, posters or clippings of her work as a feminist kind of advocate. I felt like it was just kind of piled on afterwards.
They really could have ramped that up.
How strongly she felt and how much this has been her career, rather than I just thought she was just a film presenter just doing a segment, rather than this being her complete what she wants to do. Yeah, and like the idea of fame as well. Like we didn't realise how famous she was until Sheila starts gushing.
Yeah, I thought that was odd as well because I was constantly like, but she's just a news person. Why are they acting like she's a celebrity? And that's not fully like. So there's something missing. They haven't got that balance right. It's exactly as you explained. It was well put. And I agree. I would have liked all of that ramped up to the point where they're hammering it home almost, and it would have been like, okay, at least it makes sense.
Or like leaving the film studio and there's like a couple of people wanting to talk to her about a book that she's written or an article, or a couple of people
go to a book signing.
Yeah, book signing would be good, and having a couple of people outside like giving her shit about what she's doing.
Yeah, you are right.
Just build her character a bit more because she felt a little bit. Oh, okay, we're just expected to believe this is your character.
Yeah, you are right. Lip service definitely played later on. And the thing is, if you're looking for like violence and gore, you're not really going to get it here as well. The stabbing scenes can be quite brutal, but nothing out of the ordinary, which had us make us go, why is this a nasty? We really struggled with understanding why this one was a nasty. Normally when we do these films, we're able to sit there and point and go, well, that was probably it, or that might have been it. Yeah. What parts were cut or trimmed down in the original release? We could not have worked. We could never have guessed.
No.
Well, no, tell a lie. Sorry, no. We pointed at one and said maybe. Which so the two parts are the sexualized violence of Cole on Lisa. But here's the thing: you don't see anything. There's no nudity, and it cuts after he starts to cut her top open.
I think it may have been because they just show her face crying, and it's quite a lingering shot on her face crying. So I don't know if it's more like the subtlety of that was more offensive than seeing a woman's breasts.
Yeah, it's sexualized violence, so I completely understand it. But we've seen so much worse that only got slightly trimmed, or someone like I Spit in Your Grave, for example, is a great example of a film that was butchered, but still was left stuff in to do with sexualized violence. This is very tame. The other part is insanely stupid, and it's when Cole is kicking Sheila on the floor. And I would never have looked at that and gone, that's it.
I would have said the old lady and said that I said before, the old lady in the hospital, just slowly suffocating because he's cut her oxygen tube.
Yeah.
I find that way more horrible to watch than her kicking her foot.
No, I agree.
It's a little bit odd.
There's a reason why you can easily find this movie completely uncut now, easily, with all these scenes in there, and you won't think much of it at all. It is one of the tamest nasties you're going to see. And it literally falls right in the middle. That's it. It's right in the middle. Neither the best, neither the worst.
Yep.
Simple as that. Let us know your thoughts of it in the comments. Thank you very much for watching. You can check us out on gbhbl.com, as well as on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter and Tumblr. Go to Patreon and help us out over there. That's patreon.com/gbhbl, as well as Big Cartel, where you can find some of our merchandise. We have a podcast running on SoundCloud and Apple Podcasts. And of course, if you like this video, do us a favour, hit the subscribe button and help the channel grow. Games, horror and heavy metal, what else is life for?